Maybe you heard the news, but last month was one of the craziest in 2026 so far. And yet, there was still a bunch of titles that went completely overlooked. So I decided to jump in and tell you about them. Now before I blow your mind, let me introduce myself. Hello beautiful people, I'm Wolfman Dan, and I love indie games. The kind of games that make me mad, and the games that have me weepingly look at my wallet as I browse through Steam. But enough about me. Let's go ahead and look at some cool games you might not have heard of. So grab a drink, open up Steam, and let's start wishlisting. Stonemachia by Crossfall Games. Now this is an interesting little Souls-like. You have a bunch of classes based on elements of a chessboard. Get ready to face off against an army of angels based on architectural design through Italian art and folklore. And let me tell you, the designs here are what really stand out. This game is gorgeous to look at. And the fact that it's made by a solo developer is even more insane. I just can't believe one person put all this much effort in alone and somehow put out a game that's not just beautiful to look at, but a lot of fun to play as well. It's a very fast-paced combat system, typical of all Souls-like that come out lately. A lot of parrying, dodging, the fun stuff. But the one thing you can definitely expect is to have a good time and to face off against some really difficult bosses that will challenge you throughout the entire game. If you're not sick of the genre yet, then I suggest giving this one a look. And if you are sick of the genre, you get to play as a chess piece. Emuurom by Borbware. That's one of the weirdest names I've heard for a gaming company, but, it kind of sticks in my head. Moving on, here we have a Metroidvania that's a little bit different. It's a bit more of a pacifist-style game. This is a creature scanning game where you need to go around exploring an ancient paradise that's on the verge of being destroyed while studying the Emuurom creatures and also documenting your findings in the area to find secret entrances and exits and just overall map the entire area. The fact that it's a pacifist style game might put a lot of people off, especially with Metroidvanias, because lately it just feels like the Metroidvania is just the Souls-like genre. But here we have something that is completely moving away from that and going its own direction, and I like it. It looks fantastic. I like the retro visuals. It kind of looks like a Commodore 64 game, just with a bit more visual clarity, and it might be a bit more laid back for most Metroidvania fans, but for someone like me who enjoys the experience of exploration, this is really a title that stands out in the year, and something that should be on everyone's radar. Black Jacket from Mipumi Games. I know every single genre of card game, board game has basically been turned into a roguelite at this point, but hear me out. Black Jacket is at least an interesting setting nonetheless. You're trying to gamble your way out of hell. So it's also important not just to have a good hand, but also outwit your opponents, so you can finally get enough money to pay the ferryman and leave. And because this is a roguelite and the rules of blackjack don't necessarily apply here as you're trying to get to that nice old 21 score, there's lots of modifiers you can play around with here. You can swap cards with your opponents. Certain cards have abilities that can help you get to that number quicker or slower if you need to get a bigger hand at some point. And also there's artifacts to collect that change certain modifiers of playing the game and maybe changes the card suit so they have a different value at the end of it. There's a lot of things to play around with here. But unfortunately, it is the type of thing where it is a card-based roguelite, and there are so many of them now. So a lot of you will already be put off by this, but I just like the setting here and the visuals are wonderful. And there's just an incredible atmosphere just playing this game. And while actually playing the cards is a lot of fun and bluffing your opponents and getting to learn who they are and what their backstory is a little bit of more element. It's not just a bunch of faceless people you're going up against and trying to defeat so you can get their soul coins. There's actually a story here that you might get invested into. So with those things out of the way, it's up to you if you feel like devoting another 100 hours of your life to a roguelite card game. CD-ROM by Monocle Lord. This one is a very simple title to explain. Unlock 10 CDs. In order to do that, you need to find the clues in the CD, find clues on your computer. You'll progress by deciphering coded texts, analyzing images, finding hints from minigames you can play, and just so many more. It is just the pure example of a puzzle game, not wrapped too much in a story. It is just, here is the puzzle, try to solve it as much as you can. It's basically a bunch of mini escape rooms you can play around with. It's surprisingly a lot of fun and it'll get you invested for quite a while. There's 10 CDs, it's not that long of a game, but it can be quite challenging. And that is the fun part of it, is just racking your brain, trying to figure out, how do I open these CDs? What are inside them? What are the plot? Will I understand the plot? Or will I have missed some very valuable clues that I needed to find somewhere behind the CD? Basically, this is my dream game because I've been watching a lot of Taskmaster lately, and this falls into that category of trying to find out how the hell do I get from point A to point B. For those who like a bit more casual puzzle solving that's not wrapped around the story, then check out CD-ROM. It's got a great aesthetic as well. Like, I do love this. It's going for the older Y2K style aesthetic, but with a modern paint job over it, and it looks very nice. I like the pixel art. I like the look of the old OS you have to go through. Beautiful. Mechanicus II by Bulwark Games. Now, I received the key for this game from the developers, and this was one of my most anticipated games of the year. Like, I love Mechanicus I. I would say it's my favorite Warhammer 40k game, and it's one of my favorite strategy games of all time. It's just a wonderful, deep, fun time that I just enjoy the atmosphere and the music so much. I listen to the soundtrack all the time while I'm working because it just really gets me in the mood to work as fast as I can, become one with the machine, if you will, my brothers and sisters. I want to talk about Mechanicus II for a little bit. Mechanicus II, I would normally not put this on the best games of May list because it was a bit of a disappointment. Not a giant disappointment as was for some people. Some people really are very mad at this game, and I can understand some of the complaints a lot. Like, there's a lot of glitches, it runs weird. I remember the demo, when I played the demo, it restarted my computer like 3 times, and I don't remember the last time a game did that because it somehow overheated my graphics card. Even though it's not even that impressive of a game and it doesn't require that much resources, it was just a weird thing with Mechanicus II, the demo. But the full game, I will say, I had no issues, I had no glitches, I was not kicked out, but I was left wanting. So Mechanicus II is similar to the first game in the sense that it is, again, you're playing the Adeptus Mechanicus, you are on a planet infested by Necron, and you need to clear them out. The plot is as simple as that, which is a bit disappointing. But the twist here is you can also play as the Necron, which at first I was like, not cool with that really, because the first game feels to me a lot like a horror game in the sense you're facing this unstoppable horde, everything is against you. Yes, you are the Adeptus Mechanicus, but these are the Necron. They are almost all this time itself, and they are essentially immortal. But what the second game does is it just removes a lot of urgency through the storyline and stuff. And also we get cameos from Skitarii fighting on our side. Not units you have put into the battlefield itself, but units already engaged with the enemy. So they're essentially just cannon fodder so you don't get hit. That kind of annoyed me at first. But then what broke it for me is the Space Marines started showing up. The Iron Hand. And I'm sorry, but the isolation, fear, stress, and anxiety of the first game is just kind of gone. You have this giant map you can look around in. It doesn't really mean anything. You can choose missions, but the first few missions are already like a set order you have to go in, so you can try out every different main member of the Mechanicus. And yes, each have really cool abilities that can play off the units and make your strategy a bit different, but there's a certain linearity to the gameplay because you can't create your own units anymore. You just have a set number of units you can pick from as you fill up your squad, and the game feels like it's missing a bunch of stuff. It's not as in-depth, it doesn't feel as stressful. A lot of the tension has been just shaved off to the point where there's this weird, shiny, beautiful thing that doesn't feel like the first game at all. And I'm disappointed by that because I was very excited for this title. I'm still going to play some more of it. I'm not as far as I'd like to be. Certain things are more essential in my life to focus on. But what I have played of the game has been fun. I'm having a good time and I'm excited to go back into it, but also I've kind of tempered it with the mentality of it's not as good as the first game. If you want to play a good Mechanicus game, play the first game. If you haven't, you are in for a treat. But also if you want to play a more watered down, less stressful, lower stakes version, a little bit easier actually to get into at first and not as scary, not as stress inducing with a time limit as the first game, then I'd suggest the second one. But honestly, at the same time, I can't really say the second game is a great sequel, but if you're a fan of the Necron, then definitely this is a title worth checking out because they are fun to play as, even though they're a lot slower, but they do pack a powerful punch. And there is joy to be derived from this game. But again, the vibe just does not feel the same. This feels a bit more made for a general audience than the first game. And that is sad. But I hope over time they can maybe bring out some DLC that helps with certain aspects of the game. Maybe some patches that help with the performance issues and the glitches. But as it is, I wanted to talk about it. It was close to my heart, but I don't recommend it for the month of May. And it's definitely not one of the best games. But if you have any thoughts on this title, if you've played it, and if you were a fan of the first game and was hoping for something similar to that, then and felt disappointed by the second one, then tell me about it. Please go down in the comments and tell me what you think about Mechanicus II if you've experienced it. Automaton Heart by Luke Vincent. Here we have an RPG with some very low-key graphics to say the least, but undeniably its own style. You can tell this is made by a solo developer because it definitely feels like I've just entered someone's mindset and seen the beauty that is their thoughts linking together into one coherent vision. This is a game with platforming elements where you visit obscure and interesting places while also upgrading your organs. You are able to play as different automatons, Uma, Alma, and Misla, all experiencing their unique abilities and traits as you go through these large open areas. The fun thing about this game is what's very important is your item setup and what you carry with you. You'll have to create hidden stashes to put stuff away. Get yourself an adequate bundle of items if you're going on excursions further in the world. This might not be to everyone's taste just by looking at the game, but I've always maintained people should try more things that are outside of their comfort zone. And if you're looking at this thinking like, I don't understand what's happening or what is the objective even, I'm not going to explain it. I want you to go out and just experience this. Just choose the game from the list of things here, something that looks interesting to you but is also a title you wouldn't normally engage with, and see how you feel about it. Automaton Heart, definitely the vision of someone who has many great ideas and is able to execute them. Check it out. Phonopolis by Amanita Design. Probably the most beautiful game showcasing here on this list, and one I definitely feel like should get a whole lot more love. It's a puzzle adventure game set in a hand-painted 3D world made out of cardboard. Though it's made, and like a classic point-and-click adventure title, you need to, like any classic point-and-click adventure title, you need to solve a variety of puzzles and help your character Felix end the leader's oppressive influence in a dystopian city. What I like about this title is just beautiful flow of the animation. It's 12 frames per second because they're trying to recreate that stop motion effect. It's a world you kind of just want to sit back and watch everything moving. It would have been a perfect movie, but here we have it as a point-and-click adventure title, which is the perfect genre for this type of game. This is a game where sound is incredibly important. Your character Felix has found a way to block out all sound around him in the city, so now you can manipulate the sound around you to manipulate the world in order to solve puzzles, move things around, influence other characters, find a way to solve the puzzle by just using the own world and the rules set in it against it. Is that a deep message? Maybe. But if you want to play an adventure game with a beautiful art style and just an environment, story, and atmosphere that just is something a bit different and will definitely pull you in. If none of those things interest you, then the music will definitely pull you in. Created by, and let me try to read this, Tomas Dovrak, the composer of the wonderful Mechanicus, then that will definitely be something to pull you in further. Check it out if you feel like a good point-and-click adventure title that stands out from the others. The Adventures of Sir Kicksalot by Stefan Leroy. Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. One of the all-time classics when it comes to kicking people off of ledge simulators. And The Adventures of Sir Kicksalot is trying to recreate that wonderful game in its own unique blend of weird visuals and funny humor. Finally, I get to talk about an immersive sim, but not really an immersive sim because I don't think you stack boxes, but you can play this game in a variety of different ways. You want to be stealthy and sneak up to characters and kick them off ledges. You want to run in wildly and kick a character off a ledge. Or you want to cast a magic spell to incapacitate them and then kick them off a ledge. The point is, many ledges are available in this world and even more people to kick them off. But if that's not enough to satisfy your bloodlust, also there are spikes. You can kick them into spikes. But all jokes aside, this is a fun little first-person action RPG with a lot of elements you can play around with and just mess with the world and the characters in it as you try and take them out either one by one or in a fun little group. There's lots of spells you can play around with, like you can freeze characters or coat the ground so they can slip and fall off a cliff, or electrocution, illusion, telekinesis, or my favorite, just setting them on fire with incineration. And then with the stealth, you can backstab, you can take them out by hitting them over the head with a banjo, as you can see in the trailer, or just take them on a one-to-one brutal combat that has a actually really good dodge mechanic in it for first person. Doesn't completely make me sick whenever the game does it. It's a game with an absurd story, absurd situations, and just a ton of fun to play around with. And if you still need more to sell you on this title, you can also pick up enemies' limbs or their heads and use them as a weapon and just slap some sense into them. Great title coming from a solo developer and a proper love letter to Dark Messiah. Enjoy. Nitro Gen Omega by Destiny Bit. Here we have an amazing RPG where you have a group of robots you can fight around with. It's a bit of a sandbox title as there's a giant wasteland you can explore and just fly around in, check out settlements, machine layers, take on some quests, and maybe find yourself in an event you were not prepared for. What's really fun about this game is the battle system, where essentially you have a planning phase where you set all your characters in order with their moves and then you just watch the entire battle play out anime style in some very cool cinematic 3D fight scenes. Title looks amazing for the visual style. It somehow marries the 2D art of mecha anime along with just beautiful 3D renders that look fantastic. And you can also design your entire crew so you can make all the characters you want to see scream at the top of their lungs every time they initiate a moveset. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want to put together their own mecha anime and enjoy a good Saturday evening with their own brand of user-created anime? Fantastic stuff. I really think this title is something more people should think about because you can also assemble your mech through parts you get by completing missions, again, like doing quests and helping people out, and also then go through the story, manage your group's morale and fatigue, and then make sure you make the right decisions to keep them mentally strong and able to fight through their mech, because the last thing you need is 4 Shinjis in your squad who are all too afraid to get in the damn mech. Check it out if you want to try out something a bit different, and it's been actually a stellar year for mecha RPG games, and this is definitely one of the most standout titles. Luna Abyss from Quali Games. Now this is probably the best game from last month from my list, and one that I was super excited for. Luna Abyss is a first-person shooter with a bullet hell style gameplay as you fight various enemies who just shower you with attacks as you try and dodge and switch between your weapons, getting rid of their shields and eventually taking them out. It is a lot of fun and the environments are incredibly gorgeous. The area, this giant mega structure you're going through vertically, is a treat to just look at and play. And I'm not that far in the game. It's been one of those background games I've been playing just for myself. But what I have played is so incredibly intense, fast-paced, and fun that I am just so excited to go back into it. I highly recommend this title. It's one of the most fun ones I've played this year. Also, there's a demo. If you feel like my description is not enough to sell you on this title, then I would recommend downloading and trying out the demo. But for fans of fast-paced first-person shooters and interesting first-person exploration, this is really a title I think you should try out. It's last on the list because it's the closest to my heart. Many titles to pick up for your collection here, and if you have time, maybe even enjoy them. Personally, except for enjoying a little bit of Mechanicus II, even though it's disappointing, I've really been enjoying Luna Abyss because I have a soft spot for megastructures and games that force me to jump around like a rabbit on meth. But let me know what game piqued your interest, or even what you played during the month. I love hearing about what games people are playing and what they're enjoying. And even though I cover so many indie titles, there's always new ones I find out about just from reading all your comments. But until I see you next time, have fun gaming, and goodbye.